Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about the news that the Iraqi army or government forces have secured Ramadi from ISIS or ISIL or Daesh or whatever you want to call them. Now Ramadi is a city, it's in the Sunni Triangle, and ever since the invasion it has been very tightly contested, I guess, between the American forces, the Iraqi army, and whatever the insurgency is at the moment. Today it's ISIS, I suppose. But the city's taken quite a beating over the past, dozen years or so. But just the other day they announced that the government forces have captured it. And I've noticed the news has kind of changed a little bit on this, where they say now most of the city is under the Iraqi government control, or 80%, or this or that. And then there's reports coming in that they're still coming under fire, or maybe it's not as secure as they thought. And my reaction on that is like, yeah, no shit. You know, have they not learned anything from the past dozen years or so? The United States has been in Iraq, and also the Iraqi army working with the United States on these issues. This is fourth generation warfare. Now, what happened back in the spring? God, I can't remember if that was this spring or a year ago in the spring. So excuse me on that. But basically, the Iraqi army just tuck-tailed, left Ramadi, and ISIS came into Ramadi and they controlled it. And what's happening now is the Iraqi army has rolled back in to Ramadi, and there's been a lot of fighting. They encountered a lot of resistance, and they now have a presence in most of the city, which it is good. I'm not trying to completely downplay it, but the idea that that's the end of the insurgency in Ramadi is kind of silly, if you think about it. So yeah, maybe some ISIS guy, the bad guys or whatever, stood their ground against the Iraqi army, which isn't hard, and fought these guys, and the Iraqi army pushed through. But what happened to most of these other guys? They probably just kind of put their weapons somewhere and walked off. It's kind of what happens. I mean, it's not like these guys like wear uniforms or collect a paycheck from somebody, or like organized into like these units or anything like that. It's an irregular force. But the news outlets and the Iraqi army and so forth are kind of talking about like they had a battle with a conventional military, where they can actually look on a map and say where they're gaining ground or whatever. Their battle has only started in Ramadi. It really has. Now that they're in there, they are going to be a target for the ISIS or whoever. We'll call them Alibaba, is what the Iraqi locals would call the insurgents back then. But yeah, that means Alibaba hides amongst them now, and will try to undermine the Iraqi army's presence and the Iraqi government's legitimacy there. So it's kind of silly for them to say that like, well, not necessarily for them to say that the town's secure, but for the media and us civilians, government spokespeople or whatever, to act like, yeah, we kicked these guys' asses and that's that. Now they're talking about moving on to Mosul or Fallujah, whatever, doing the same thing, which is all fine, but the really dirty work has just started. You know, we took over all these cities as Americans. We didn't encounter a whole lot of resistance doing so, but we encountered all the resistance after we were there. You know, and it's kind of like, to me, it's just like a real like no shit kind of thing. And that's what's going to happen to these Iraqi army guys. And the insurgents, they were always very successful in terrorizing these guys. You know, like a lot of times, like if they found out somebody's family was in the Iraqi army or something, like, you know, a wife, kids or whatever, like they would get killed. You know, if they'd catch the Iraqi army guys like leaving base or going to base or something, they would kill them. You know, they're people, they'd get their car stopped and get their brains blown out on the side of the road, or get their heads cut off, or come home and see their family killed. And almost everybody in the Iraqi army knew that this was a possibility. And it's kind of bizarre because as Americans working with these guys, as I did in Iraq from time to time, you know, we'd kind of be, you know, holy shit, these guys are cowards. You know, like they'd be afraid to face the enemy, really really short with like civilians, like just really nervous. A lot of times these guys wouldn't even show up to do their duty. When you would get them to show up, they'd be like screwing off or whatever. So it was easy for us to call these guys cowards, but in reality, these guys, they had their dicks more on the chopping block than we did. Yeah, we can get killed just as easily as them, but you know, no one's gonna go kill mom or wife, girlfriend, kids, or whatever back in America because you were over here in Iraq. I mean, I suppose that is a possibility, but it's like, as far as I know, that hasn't happened. Whereas in Iraq, for these Iraqi army dudes, like, yeah, that does happen. So they would also probably end up getting the lowest common denominator of society to fill these jobs. It'd be a lot of people that were either desperate or maybe a little on the sadistic side, where they kind of had nothing going in their life and wanted some kind of job where they'd have a little bit of pull over people. You know, it's like, you know, we think about our military here in the United States, like, oh yeah, they're so wonderful and stuff like that, and like we really do get high quality people into our military, but for the Iraqi army, that just definitely wasn't the case. You know, like if you join the military in the United States, everyone's like, oh, what a wonderful choice and good for you and this, that, but like it wasn't quite the same in Iraq, where they're like, oh yeah, hey, you're fighting for us and thanks for fighting for our freedom and so forth. It's a little bit more of an antisocial thing to do, I think, over there. So they get these low caliber people. Sometimes there'd be guys from Saddam's army that would join, and these were guys that would be like professional soldiers. That's what they know how to do, and what they want to do with their lives, and they're giving it a shot with new management. And I always thought those guys were kind of cool. You know, like I'd get along a little bit better with them, and you know, they'd be a lot better at their jobs and a little more serious, and a lot more mature too. And as far as like their officer corps goes, like, yeah, they're pretty much worthless too. So kind of a lot of order takers, you know, at best. Not a lot of creativity. These guys, like, they are looking to be able to say they have results, just because their performance has been so dismal, to be honest. So even if things aren't going very well, like, it's easy for them to like claim victory on paper, and I imagine that's kind of what's happening. I don't want to completely downplay it for them though, because like, yeah, it is a big step for them to actually go into these cities and face whatever segment of Alibaba does want to face them at that point. So that's good. That is something for them. Don't want to completely piss on the parade, but I'm just saying we should take this news that they've recaptured Ramadi, and you know, everything's going to be fine again with a little bit of grain of salt. It just means they're in the battle now, basically. It'll probably be some time, if at all, before they really have the insurgency there quelled or whatever, but I don't know. Could get pretty bloody and ugly for him. You know, being surrounded on all sides by these guys, like in the town, and not really knowing who's friend or foe. Yeah, it's fourth generation warfare. You know, we're in different times. You know, I just did a video about that a couple weeks ago. check that out. But you know, these ISIS cats, that's what they're doing. It's like a guerrilla warfare, and I think these Iraqi army guys, like, they know they are fighting guerrilla warfare, but they kind of want to think in terms of conventional warfare, as far as being able to say, yeah, we've captured this territory and captured this, and this is secure and so forth. That's just kind of the mentality they have, I guess. But all in all, I definitely wish the best for the citizens of Ramadi and all of Iraq and all of the Middle East, for that matter. It's been a rough fucking dozen of years or so for these guys. I think a lot of people ran out of Ramadi once ISIS kind of took over, and I know just a lot of the town's been destroyed over the years. I'm sure they probably got some bombs the first Gulf War, then the second time around, and then you know, the occupation and all the battles with the insurgency was rough. You know, and it's hard to rebuild under those kind of circumstances, and I don't know. I just hope I hope this is a step in the right direction for the people of Ramadi, and where they can kind of start putting the pieces back together after a rough generation, really, for everybody involved. That's all I have for now. I'll continue to monitor the situation there in Iraq. See what's happening, see if they really do go into Mosul and Fallujah and stuff pretty soon, and see if they get into my old stomping grounds. That'd be kind of interesting to see what's going on there. Last I checked, it wasn't good. So, alright, talk to you later.